Very scuffed intro. We're going to be doing a tier list of all the Elden Ring DLC bosses. There are two that I just didn't get to. It's these bad boys. They're PvP bosses. Who cares? Who cares what I think about them? I'm going to try and go through these in order of when I approached them. Oh my goodness. Who could forget the Blackgaol Knight? It was literally right there after you got in. So this guy, he just had his general PvP moveset. He had a lot of damage about him. Everybody facing this guy, he just did a lot of damage. He had a lot of health, but his armor set, used that armor set for the majority of my playthrough. So I think because of that, originally I was going to put him at roughly like a D tier. I'm going to put him C. It's a PvP fight. Divine Beast Dancing Lion. The first one. I didn't have too many rage-inducing moments. Later found out you could jump the smoking breath attack, but I did use a shield, so I was able to block it in that manner. But having to deal with multiple elements, like, you know, cycling out, and his attack patterns, although very confusing at first, you eventually got used to them. As a first boss, like first story boss, it was good. The OST was fantastic. So I'm gonna put this one at a B. I didn't really like that lightning phase though. Ghostflame Dragon version 1. Woo-goo! This guy, as a dragon fight, wasn't too bad. His explosion of fire, kind of annoying to deal with. I didn't play it while riding on a horse. I just got down off the horse and, you know, chomped at the ankles. Nothing too crazy about the fight, except for the fact that his flame attacks were just giga potent. So I'm gonna put this one B tier, but below. Nah, I'm gonna throw it in C tier. I was gonna consider it low B, but it's a dragon fight. Nothing innovative or crazy. The design is all right. Cool looking dragon, I guess. I just started playing, so I'm taking notes. Whoa, whoa. You're just gonna watch me rank all these bosses and talk about all their mechanics? You want some tips? Demi-Human Swordmaster Onze, or Schmiegel. He was pretty fun to fight. He was very hyper. He disappears, reappears in terms of his design and his attack patterns. Like, it was good. I enjoyed it. I'm gonna throw him up in B. Was he better than Dancing Beast? No, Dancing Beast was a little better. I consider Dancing Beast high B. I would say mid-tier B would be Schmiegel. Demi-Human Queen Marigga. I died twice to her. The biggest attack that she did was the shotgun of magic bullets. Absolutely just delete you at full health. Had some ads that were around, kind of annoying. It wasn't that spectacular of a fight. I mean, I'm gonna put it at low C tier. Low C tier. Wasn't really too impressed with it. Magic attack shotgun was kind of funny to get hit by, but in the end you're just like, eh. Ghostflame Dragon version 2. Horrible. Horrible. It's Ghostflame Dragon version 1, but it summons ads. And the ads were hyper aggressive that just wouldn't leave you alone. And you had to kill them again, because they resurrect otherwise. Horrible. D tier. Terrible. I'm almost close to say shouldn't even exist. Yeah, shouldn't exist. No. Yeah, we're bringing that down. F tier. Who was next? Oh yeah, the Death Knights. So Death Knights were pretty cool in terms of their moveset. Just their overall design was awesome. The use of lightning attacks, charging in or blinking in, AoEs, although they were very staggerable. My version, I'm going to rate both of these. The version 2 is where it could grab you and drain the life out of you to heal itself. However, within the context of someone who is greatsword, I just zug and chug, man. Stagger him, knock him down. Got grabbed like twice during one of the fights. Take it with a grain of salt how I rate him. The first one, I would put him at, I'll put him at a low B tier. Low B tier is pretty cool. And then like in terms of this guy being able to like grab you, I put him a little bit above him just because of that attack. Puts you a little on edge. Chief Bloodfiend, this big boy. I remember versing him like way early on. You go through him in order to get the double turtle talisman. He was just kind of like a normal mob. I just got meaty poise breaking attacks on him. His attack patterns were very easily readable. I put him at D tier. He wasn't really that interesting of a boss to me. The Ancient Dragon Man. So you run into like Egon, on the road, and then further up ahead you fight his invasion version, and then you go into the dungeon, and I died twice to that bite. It's a PvP fight, but that dragon bite was ridiculous. I mean, he looked cool. Design-wise, he looked cool. In terms of the fight, I would probably put him at, like, high C tier. The cool design is what carried him. Good old Rellana. The first, like, to me, real gut check fight, I think it was 60 attempts it took me. Again, I just did all the bosses with, like, no summons, no magic, great sword with a shield, and that was it. Good staggers off. That was like the first dance fight, but it was like one of those fights where it felt really good to, like, get down correctly. So I am putting Rellana A tier. Not quite S tier, not quite S tier, but very, very close, I would say. There's only like a select, very select few that get that S tier, but she is by far probably going to be the top of the A tier, in my opinion. Moving on. Black Knight Edredd. Edredd was the one in the castle off to the east of the starting area, I believe. He was very, very, like, not even mid, below mid, D tier, low D tier. Very terrible health. I just zugged and chugged and beat him in, like, I don't know, 5 hits. Not that great of a fight. However, Black Knight Garrew gets a little extra for his boss fight. I'm gonna put him at a C tier, but the highest C tier. And the reason behind that is because his head turns into a frog. That's it. He has a frog attack. That's about it. And then he just wields a giant hammer. Golden Hippo actually gave me some trouble. I did use the Black Steel Great Shield, which is found right outside the castle, which is fantastic because he just pops off with the holy damage. Moveset wise, pretty good. Some of the holy attacks were kind of just like a shotgun AoE from his location. The worst part was getting stuck when you're right in front of him and he goes into chomp attack mode, because he starts very slow and then accelerates. So if you're right there, you can't roll out of the way, because if you do attempt to roll, 9 times out of 10 he's just going to catch you. But other than that, he was a pretty good fight. I liked him. I would probably put him above Schmeagle, just a little bit above Schmeagle. He was a cool fight. It was my first time versing one of the hippos. Messmer, between him and Rellana, they are both A tier, but in terms of who was better, I'm going to have to put Messmer in front of Rellana, just because the second phase was more interesting. It was a very exciting fight. Learning his movesets was very satisfying. Nah, I'm gonna have to give him A tier, because his second phase was easier, in my opinion. If it like maybe went a little harder, I would have ranked it into S tier. But overall, I mean, it was a good fight. I would rate it like 9 out of 10. But in terms of him versus Rellana, he definitely goes up a little bit. Death Rite Bird buffed. Absolute dog. It was the Deathbird fight all over again. Nothing new, nothing innovative. Didn't do anything different. It was a literal copy paste. Shouldn't have existed, or should have been iterated upon to just be somewhat different. It was like a boss placeholder almost. It didn't do anything different. It was just Deathbird. And then you had to deal with another Deathbird. Nobody likes Deathbird. The Lamenter. After Deathbird, I found the Lamenter cave. This fight was interesting with its gimmick. It would summon ads, and then you would have to make sure you clear all the ads, which it only took 1 hit per clone. But if you didn't knock down enough clones, it would go into its little giggle phase or lament phase, and you would instantly die. I would put Lamenter, I would put it at like low B. It's a B ranking because it was definitely interesting. They tried something different and I liked it. I got caught up in the death. That's how I know about it. So it was very clever on getting people. Ancient Dragon Sennesax was just the lightning dragon from the base game, more obnoxious AoE attacks. And the only way to really go on about for me to kill this boss was I would be far away from it, ride into it, slap it once with my greatsword, and ride off into the sunset as it does an attack behind me. And I did that over and over and over. It definitely should have had like a different moveset. I'm gonna put it at a high D, I guess. It definitely could have been a better fight, in my opinion. Bayle. Curse you, Bayle. He was like, I'm losing my mind fighting this boss. Because, again, no summons, no magic, no bell, no nothing. Just a great sword and shield. His movesets were incredibly difficult to, like, learn. But once you got him down, you felt like the Dragon Slayer taking down, you know, the big bad dragon. The quest line that's attached to it with Egon, like Egon in itself, just tremendous voice actor. I don't know who that guy's name is, but he is just fantastic. Bayle, I'm gonna put at an S tier boss fight. He was incredible. Incredibly tough, but big hairy butt in there. They need to fix the lightning attack because there are sometimes the lightning attack bugs out and it just auto tracks to you. I know there's two breaths. I am fully aware there's two breaths. There's one where he predicts where you're about to go and he just shoots fire there, and there's a attack where he samples where you're at and he starts his breath and then tracks to you. That one, like if you're entering the battlefield, sometimes it's just you see one of the plumes of lightning just kind of shift over, and I'll get more into some of those bugs later on with Radahn's fight. But Bayle, S tier. Had a great time learning and just beating that boss. One of the best fights FromSoft has ever made, in my opinion. Oh, okay, so I completely forgot. Jagged Peak Drake. It was just another dragon fight. So I'm gonna put this bad boy at right below Sennesax. Moving on into the Abyss. First off, the dungeon leading to Jori the Inquisitor, that was a pretty cool dungeon. It was very long. There was like no checkpoints. It was just having to deal with all the traps, and it was very creative. If I could incorporate it into this guy's score, I would. But talking in terms of the boss and ads, just incorporating 5 little ads, the fat boy, the 2 range boys, and the 2 melee was just annoying. I eventually found out that, yeah, like while he's casting the circles of light, you could go up behind him and just immediately backstab him, trivializing the fight. So with that, it was cool setting, some different stuff they were attempting on it. I don't know about those minions. I'ma put it at high C just because it was different, but it was still pretty mid-fight having to deal with those ads. Definitely lower than Lamenter. I enjoyed Lamenter better than Jori. Good old Midra. The absolute troll of FromSoft having you deal with his small version before having to fight the Frenzied Flame version was hilarious, but the fact that he could get maybe a quick hit or two, because as a greatsword user, you could run in, hit him once, and he might clip you with like a quick one. But I found it funny. Now, in terms of the fight itself, the only gripe that I have with it was the dive bomb attack not being rollable. You had to run away in order to get away from the attack. So you had to be mindful to be not like at the back of the arena or be out of position when he phased. That's a very small gripe about it. But in terms of his overall attack patterns, getting that down and learning it, it was like Rellana's fight. It turned into a dance and it felt really nice, especially at the end of mine. I managed to stagger him in the end and I finished him off with, you know, the killing blow. I would put this bad boy right below Bayle. Really good fight. Really enjoyed it. After I got done with Midra, I started going off the script a little bit. The very first guy I want to say I went up against was Curseblade Labireth. Garbo fight. It was another dancer Curseblade. It seemed like it had less health than the ones in the overworld world. And in my opinion, it shouldn't have existed. Red Bear, another NPC fight, you know, had its fist move sets, but his overall design, I really liked the lore behind him. Like if you inspect his bear claws, he was so pumped up after his fight with the bear, he made the claws like, you know, his weapons. I would probably put it above the Death Knights. His lore kind of hard carries. Speaking of bears, let's get into Rugalea. I did beat it in one shot. Its moves were very well telegraphed. At least like I was able to use the shield to learn its patterns. I really enjoyed the fight because you were able to learn it right there on the go, as opposed to going slightly east to the rune bears, who are just an absolute pain in my... This guy was terrific, and I would put him above Schmeagle. First time beating a rune bear is worth it. I beat a rune bear in the base game, but it's just like, ugh, there's two bears. I don't think, well, I'm gonna put this bear right here. I know for a fact I only fought one, so I didn't find this bear. Both the same though. Okay, it is what it is. So the Putrescent Knight, it was a really cool fight. It only took me like 3 tries, I wanted to say, but in terms of its design, the attack patterns were hard to read, all the different fire attacks. But usually with mounted fights, like it's usually just horse dude doing the same thing. But this guy was very different, and I liked the fight. I would probably put this guy right above Golden Hippo in terms of enjoyment of the fight. Commander Gaius. This guy, he was a beefy boy. With his charge attack, he could block that charge attack decently on good enough endurance. I liked his attack patterns. I think it took me like 3 or 4 tries in order to get him down, but in terms of his design, his lore, it was good. Like nothing really a whole lot to complain about. An A tier. Actually, now that I'm like looking here, Divine Beast doesn't have his death variant, and for that I'm going to grade him on a curve. If FromSoft didn't have the second version where he spewed out death frogs, I would regard him much higher. So because of death frogs, Divine Beast Dancing Lion is going down to 2 individuals. Romina was really good. Only took me 2 tries. Really fun fight, trying to figure out what she's doing with the centipede and the scorpion tail. Then she's got like her rolls and everything. Very well telegraphed, very easy to read, good design. Had the fairy form second phase, which was really cool. So I'm gonna rate her above Commander Gaius in terms of enjoyment, design, lore. Really good. This is when I started going to the church, but the Tree Sentinels ×2 should have not existed. I don't know what their purpose was, lore-wise or whatever. They just there, and they're very easily defeated. Well, what's their purpose, FromSoft? There's 2 of them as well, like Fallingstar Beast buffed. Why? Why are we versing bosses? Why are we versing these copy-paste bosses, FromSoft? Stop it. I would even put this guy above Tree Sentinel and Fallingstar Beast, because at least this guy is different from the base game. Mater Mother of Fingers. The lead up to it, where you find Count Ymir and fighting the Lady Knight's sister, quest line that's involved with this boss, like really great. In terms of the boss design, it's super unique. Its attacks are super unique. It summons ads, which I don't really like too much, but it was a very enjoyable fight. It only took me like 4, maybe 5 tries. I would put it at an A. Count Ymir, the questline is good and that hard carries, but his fight in general is just I would probably put him below Jori, but the quest kind of helps him out in that regard. I'm gonna put him above Jori. All right, let's just get to Furnace Golem really quick. Furnace Golem, I did 1, but then I guess they incrementally get worse. At that point, I already beat the game, so I don't feel like doing them because they're just, I don't know, annoying to deal with. The Scadutree Avatar. Scadutree Avatar was pretty cool in terms of incorporating like a 3-phase fight. Its attack patterns very readable. The only attack that I didn't like is the one where it kind of shoves you, but overall its design was cool. It's like one of the death flowers that you find out there. But other than that, oh, and you get you know, Miquella's Great Rune out of it, which can be used during Radahn's fight, and we'll get to that here in a second. You know what? I'm gonna throw it in as a low A below Gaius, just because it's got 3 phases and it takes you off guard, and it slightly modifies its attack patterns. It like adds 1 extra attack per phase. It was a fair fight. I think it took me something like 4 or 5 tries, but now the last one, Radahn. So in terms of design, Radahn was just his previous self with legs. But all memes aside, his attacks are very unfair in some regards. The one attack is where he gets you with a quick 1-2, and then he slices in front of him with both hands. The initial attack usually always gets someone. You have to be prepared for an incoming attack to either roll or block, because if you're in the middle of a swing, it will always get you, no matter what. If it had just a little bit, couple extra milliseconds of a wind up, I would have, you know, not complained too much about that one. In terms of his other attack patterns, having to deal with the meteors, again, with the tracking projectiles, much like the Bayle fight, I feel like there was some oddball behavior going on. A couple of meteors would just shoot off into nothing, and sometimes they would track a little bit too well, and you couldn't consistently avoid those meteors by just merely rolling. You had to run to one side and jump, and that's 9 out of 10 like you're going to avoid those attacks. Now phase 2 of this fight was really cool up until those like holy geysers just started popping off, essentially blinding people. If it was more like the Radagon fight, where it would just be like the glowy fissures on the ground that, you know, you would see, cool, excellent. But I think they were trying intentionally to blind you during the fight just to give it that extra difficulty, and you had to be very mindful of where you rolled in position of him in order to avoid those geyser attacks. Now, the hug attack was pretty cool. Radahn hugs you and Miquella's like, hey, you know, come join our side, you know, yeah, you're gonna get more hugs for you if you want. And getting hugged twice always meant you got the special heart stolen, and then you get an emote. That was really cool. I like that little extra touch to it. And then the fact that it does another fall from the sky, it's some nostalgia bait. It's a little bit of nostalgia bait, but it was cool. I mean, it looked better. All in all, like difficulty wise, it was the most difficult fight. Most difficult fight to deal with. I'm going to put Radahn at below Bayle. If the geysers and stuff didn't happen, maybe higher than Bayle. Bayle was just fantastic. That's it for me on this rant. My takes on all of these bosses, like, it was a really solid DLC. I am really glad that I got to do this blind and right out of the gate. I did the base game when everybody had their turn on it, and I tried keeping it as blind as possible with my run. And then leading into this one, it just, oh, really good DLC, and I hope that they make another one. Come on. Yes! 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 Are you kidding me? What a boss! What a boss! Oh my god! Oh! Oh man! Oh man, dude! Oh!